Welcome to the Neil Thomas Show. I am your host, Neil Thomas. Hope everybody had a good week. Lots going on in the news and lots to talk about. Let's start out by talking about immigration. We had an influx of illegal border crossings that have forced the U.S. Customs and Border Protection to implement report to ICE orders rather than issuing court appearance dates to illegal aliens. Think about this. This is simply catch and release on steroids. Customs and Border Patrol Protection Commissioner Troy Miller tells a House Appropriations Subcommittee that the CBP began issuing report to ICE orders to illegal aliens in response to exhausted resources and overcrowded facilities. Now, these overcrowded facilities are due to our president, who told these illegal aliens to simply surge to the border. They are surging to the border, and they're surging to the border in such numbers that we cannot keep up with them. At the hearing earlier this week, Miller went on to say that since Mexico has stopped accepting return migrants, the CBP has encountered over 178,000 illegal immigrants trying to enter the U.S. in April alone. This aggressive statistic shows the highest amount of illegal immigrants entering in the last 20 years. Of the individuals, 35% had re-entered the U.S. after being removed, providing frustrated Border Patrol agents to commonly refer to Joe Biden as, "Let 'em go, Joe." Our Border Patrol are mocking the president. In a letter to Homeland Security earlier this week, Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona accused the DHS of violating immigration law by releasing immigrants inside the U.S. without a court date. Homeland Security Subcommittee members addressed this issue of accountability due to the new report to ICE orders. As Biden immigration policies continue to strain border resources, thousands of children are being left stuck in overcrowded holding facilities, and agents are being forced to take on caretaker roles instead of patrolling for coyotes and drug smugglers. These guys cannot do their jobs because they're dealing with this influx, and that's all due to "Let 'em go, Joe." Meanwhile, border czar Camel Toe Harris has yet to visit the border. Critics claim that this is an intentional effort on the part of the White House to avoid poor optics of this crisis. Well, of course, that's what they're doing. They want to ignore this crisis. They want to pretend that it's not happening, and they definitely don't want to admit that it's their fault. There is no justice, there is no ethical behavior in ignoring the fact that we have a border. It is not wrong to want to vet people from coming into the country. It is the correct thing to do. Entering the country illegally is a crime. Could you imagine if we had a report to the police order when we catch somebody committing a crime? At least when somebody commits a small crime, they get a ticket and a court date. These individuals aren't even getting a court date. They're just, whenever you get around to it, please let us know where you're at and what you're doing. This is not the way to run a country. This is not fair to our border control people who are working very hard in conditions that are simply unbearable. 178,000 illegal immigrants in April alone. That is an insane number. So how does "Let 'em go, Joe" respond to this crisis at the border? He does what he always does, and he tries to shift the blame. Notably, Biden tried to blame his Secretary of Health and Education Services. This happens to be Xavier Becerra, who got drug into the immigration debate in kind of a backhanded way. Once it was determined that the border control agents were lousy at childcare, the DHS was the logical next choice for a kinder and gentler government agency. See, who would have thought that the border control were not meant to be nannies for illegal alien children? The only problem, of course, is that Becerra is a lawyer and a member of the House of Representatives from 93 to 2017. He has zero experience in healthcare and is in charge of the healthcare for the entire border now. When you have tens of thousands of Central American migrants rushing to the U.S. border in hopes of applying for asylum, this is chaotic. This is a chaotic situation that is going to be very difficult. We have Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas state that he couldn't take the lead in caring for refugees because his department is made up of cops and not social workers. Last week, Mayorkas told the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee that the number of minors in the custody of U.S. Customs and Border Patrol protection continues to fall. In March, Mayorkas said there were nearly 6,000 minors in Border Patrol custody. Today, he said there are less than 500. However, according to recent reports, there are more than 20,000 minors in the custody of the Department of Health and Human Services. Becerra is expecting to sort out this mess, while knowing his boss may be experiencing buyer's remorse. And as the Beltway Press Corps has run story after story with unnamed senior administration spilling about how upset Biden is with Becerra. See, Biden puts this individual into this position that he's not qualified for. It looks simply to be a position he wanted to fill with a minority. And then since this individual doesn't happen to be qualified, now when he fails at his job, it gives Biden somebody to blame. This is not what a leader does. A leader fixes the problem. If a leader makes a mistake and puts the wrong person in a position, he takes care of it. He doesn't use that as a scapegoat and a way to shift the blame. So we have a crisis at the border. We have an economic crisis. And of course, we still have COVID. An interesting story about Rand Paul. He's refusing to get the COVID-19 vaccination because he's already got COVID. It raises the question, if you've gotten the disease, why do you need the vaccine? Senator Rand Paul said that he won't get the COVID-19 vaccine because he has already had the coronavirus and believes he now has natural immunity. Paul, one of the first senators to test positive for the virus last March, told WABC 770 AM radio that it's a personal decision to opt out of the vaccine. An ophthalmologist, Paul, said unless he sees evidence proving that the vaccine is more effective than having survived the virus, he won't be getting the shot. Until they show me evidence, he says, that people who have already had the infection are dying in large numbers or being hospitalized or getting sick, I just made my own personal decision that I'm not getting vaccinated because I've already had the disease and I have natural immunity. The CDC has encouraged people who have had COVID to get vaccinated because experts do not yet know how long that you are protected from getting sick again and recovering. See, the interesting part here is there is no study out there, none that I've seen. If I'm wrong, please let me know, but there is no study that shows people who have had COVID get it again in large numbers. I'm sure that there are the exception to every rule, but can somebody show me where there are these large groups of people that are getting it? We continue on. Even if you have already recovered from COVID-19, it is possible, although rare, this article says, that you could be infected with the virus that causes COVID-19 again. CDC even states here that it's very rare to get the virus again. Paul, who has tussled with Anthony Fauci at a number of Senate hearings over mask wearing and whether the virus originated in a Chinese lab, said getting vaccinated should be a personal choice, which it should be. And I don't know that it really matters if it originated in a Chinese lab. We know it came from China. In a free country, you would think people would honor the idea that each individual would get to make the medical decision, that it wouldn't be a big brother coming to tell me what I have to do, Paul said. Are they also going to tell me I can't have a cheeseburger for lunch? Are they going to tell me that I have to eat carrots only and cut my calories? Paul added. All that would probably be good for me, but I don't think Big Brother ought to tell me to do it. This raises a good point. Where are we going to go from here? Right now, with this being a vaccine that has not passed or has not been sanctioned by the FDA, can they really mandate this vaccine in any way? Once it goes through the trials and it becomes an FDA-approved vaccine, I think we are going to see some more mandates. But until then, I would think that it's not only it's unethical to state that somebody has to take this vaccine. We are already seeing stadiums full of people. I just saw Madison Square Gardens full. No masks. Or very few masks anyway, and people shoulder to shoulder enjoying themselves. And it was just a few weeks ago, people were terrified to go outside. What happened and why did things shift so quickly? Did the effects of the coronavirus suddenly change? Did the science suddenly change? Or did we get a new figurehead in the White House? Don't get me wrong, I'm sure that the Democrats are going to continue to use COVID-19 to garner control over the American populace, but we are seeing this very quick shift in how the government and how the quote-unquote science is looking at COVID-19. I'm personally going on a plane here in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to be curious to see exactly what happens as far as how they're going to deal with masks and vaccines. There is no requirement to show a vaccine card, at least yet, but I do believe that I am going to be required to wear a mask, and that's fine, but we're going to see how this goes. So according to the CDC, 38.9% of all Americans are fully vaccinated, and 48.9%, almost half, have received at least one dose. If you then add in the amount of people who have recovered from the virus, that is a huge amount of Americans who have some amount of immunity to the virus. So why the continued push for masks and vaccines? What is the next step? We already have some employers that are making it mandatory for new employees, or even in some cases current employees, to get this vaccine. The fear is, when is the government going to follow suit and make it mandatory in other areas? When are they going to make it mandatory for somebody to walk down the street without a vaccine? Are we going to have individuals, whether it be the police or some other special force, that is able to stop people and ask for their vaccination cards? Are we going to be able to round people up and forcibly give them the vaccine? I know this seems a little bit far-fetched, but when you see what's going on, you have to wonder. The FBI is now warning people of a harsh penalty that comes with faking COVID vaccination cards. It states that more people are getting vaccinated, but there is also a new problem. Some people are faking the proof of vaccine documentation. As governments, businesses, and sports teams offer incentives to get vaccinated, counterfeit COVID-19 vaccine cards are popping up. The FBI warns that this is a federal crime. That is misuse of a government seal, so that is actually a crime to do it. It comes with it for each offense up to a $5,000 fine or 5 years in prison. Could you imagine that? Going to prison for 5 years for having a fake vaccination card for a shot that you didn't want to take, a chemical that you did not want to put into your body, and you end up going to prison for 5 years. The FBI says fake cards have already been showing up for sale online. the problem is likely to get worse with as the more incentives. I'm not as worried with the incentives. Incentives get some people to do something like this. It's when the mandates come out that people are going to be a little bit more aggressive in getting these fake cards. And then we're going to see how aggressive the FBI is with actually taking these people and putting them in prison. On Friday, a pop-up vaccination site run by the Sheriff Fire Department's mobile clinic teamed up with businesses in the U District to offer discounts. For example, people who get a shot received a coupon for free ice cream. Oh, isn't that nice? Get a shot in the arm and get some tasty treats. We're trying to be creative in how to get the vaccine in people's arms, said this individual police captain. Some other examples of incentives that I've seen is people who get a COVID vaccine at a Seattle Sounders home game get a free hot dog. There you go. A free hot dog for getting a needle in the arm with some chemicals. Get the shot, don't get the shot, I don't care. But the likelihood of the government using this as a way to create a new mandate and get some more control is unfortunately getting more and more likely. But that is our government, and that is where we are at. And now we have this individual who I have to admit I had never heard of her before seeing this in the news. Her name is Demi Lovato. Apparently Demi has now come out and she has claimed that she is no longer female and is not claiming to be male either. She's something else, which you can live your life how you want, but is this becoming more of an attention grab? You know, this becomes the new trendy thing now. I'm not a male or a female. I'm this other thing that nobody can quite describe. It also becomes quite complicated when you're trying to read articles about this. For example, we have this from CBS News. States Demi Lovato announces they are non-binary and changing their pronouns. Demi and who else? Is there some other person here that I need to address? What's going on here? Singer Demi Lovato has announced that they are binary and are changing their pronouns to they, them. They said revelation followed a lot of healing and self-reflective work. In a Twitter video early Wednesday introducing their new podcast, the pop singer says they didn't identify as male or female. And here's a quote: "I want to take this moment to share something very personal with you," they said. "Over the past year and a half, I've been doing some healing and self-reflective work, and through this work, I've had the revelation, and I identify as non-binary." This really has become the trendy thing now. It's not, gay, bi, straight anymore. That's boring. That's 1990s. Nobody needs to worry about that anymore. Now we've moved on to, I'm not really a male or female. I'm a tree. I'm a aardvark or something. It is nonsense. It is nonsensical. It's ridiculous. You are a biological female. You were born a biological female, and you will die a biological female. If you want to live your life as non-binary, that's fine. The issue becomes when I have to try to explain what you are, and it makes no grammatical sense. The problem also is when it's seen as hateful when somebody has a problem with this. It's not hateful to look at this and say that it simply doesn't make sense. Again, this is the greatest country ever to have been created, and this individual, I will try not to use the pronoun she, this individual certainly can live this individual's life the way this individual wants. See how ridiculous that is? I'm trying to do it. I'm not going to use they. They is plural. They makes no sense. But to say this individual or to just completely keep using the name Demi also makes no sense. Grammatically, it doesn't make sense because it doesn't actually exist. There is really no such thing as non-binary. It doesn't exist. I'm not trying to bash this individual. I'm just trying to understand why all of a sudden this singer that I've never really heard of before all of a sudden has to make this announcement, and now all of a sudden is in the news again. Could it be possibly that her career wasn't quite going as well as it could be, and she needed a little boost? From the same article talking about this, on their podcast, Lovato said that it would mean the world if people used their correct pronouns, but they will be accepting if people accidentally use she, her pronouns and just want them to be making the effort. You can do what you want. You have the freedom to do as you wish in this country, but you don't have the right to ask other people to do it. You don't have the right to demand that other people do it and then turn around and try to shame them when they don't. And that is the entire idea behind this concept of transphobia. If you use the correct biological term when describing a trans person, you are somehow a hateful, evil person, even though you've done nothing wrong. I mean, where does this end? Where are we going with this? You know, I am a human being. Can I choose to be a non-human? Can I choose to be a canine or some other species that I wish to pretend to be? And more importantly, if I make that choice, do I then have the right to shame you and call you a bigot or a evil person if you don't pretend that I am that thing that I claim to be? If you don't make the same effort, then I get to attack you for not helping with me with my delusions. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this individual is not doing this for more fame or for attention. Maybe this person actually feels like that and simply wants to come out as quote-unquote non-binary. Maybe that's what's going on here. But since there's no scientific test for being non-binary, being transgender, being whatever you want to call it, anybody can claim whatever they want. And if you don't agree, somehow you become the bad person. When did asking for evidence become wrong? When did following the science become not in style? But I'll make you a deal. If you can come up with a non-binary blood test, and it actually comes from science, I will buy Demi Lovato's next album. All right, guys. I appreciate you listening to the show, and hope that you continue to listen. Please check out the YouTube page and some social media. We would love to hear from you, and until next time.